Monday edition of the show. All across America on SportsMap Radio. All over the world on the SportsMap Radio app. Have you ever had an eyebrow? Have you ever had a situation where, only people that are older would probably understand this. Because this doesn't happen to young people, because you don't get unruly eyebrows when you're younger. But I've literally got an eyebrow, a hair from my eyebrows on my left side, and it keeps kind of slithering away from the rest of my eyebrow. And every time I kind of look out of my, I'm looking through my eyelids, and I can see this one hair that's just hanging down. You ever had Justin Barbosa is our producer engineer on the program tonight, working the show in Houston. You ever have that happen, Justin? Yeah, see, you don't have it. It's because you're young. You don't deal with ear hair and nose hair and all that. So, it's just stuff that, it's amazing. For all the hair that grows everywhere except my head. Nose, ears, eyebrows, face, chest. I can't grow it on my head, though. I can't grow it on my head. It's just not right. It's just some evil trick that's played on us. We got a lot to do over the next 3 hours. Busy 3 hours. It's always a busy 3 hours from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern with us every night on the show. Obviously, top of mind, Miami and Denver, this NBA Final Game 5 with Denver trying to close it out in 5 and really cap off what, and again, it's all relative to the opponent, that you're playing against and the opponents that they've played against in this postseason. Minnesota, Phoenix minus Chris Paul, a Laker team that was a play-in tournament team, despite their improvement throughout the playoffs and turning into a better team than that play-in tournament team. And then what we've seen here against a Miami Heat team that's the 8th seed. So I get that we're going to judge them against the level of competition they played. But if they finish off this series in 5 games, it will be one of the more dominant runs through an NBA postseason that we've seen in quite some time. Now, this team has not dealt with really a single bit of turmoil or strife or moment where you doubted whether or not they were going to be able to win a that just hasn't existed within this Denver Nuggets postseason. It has been as close to a no-stress trip to an NBA championship. Now, the media will make a big deal and say, well, what about Game 2, Jason? They lost Game 2 to Miami. It was 1-1. Miami retook home court advantage. Michael Malone criticized his team for the way they played, and that was a big deal. Not really. When you really get into it, when you break it down, and sort of put it all back together, that was as much an overreaction by people in the media to something that Michael Malone said to them and creating a story and trying to create a narrative for, well, if the Denver Nuggets come up short, if the Denver Nuggets don't succeed in their quest for an NBA title, now we have the story. Why didn't it happen? But remember, think about how long ago that Game 2 loss feels right now if you're a Denver Nuggets fan, where everybody was hyperventilating, where there was all this overreaction. Think about how long ago that feels when you watch this NBA Finals series right now. After the winning Game 3 in Miami, after the winning Game 4 in Miami, just methodically, systematically taking Miami apart. And yeah, it's a make or miss league, and sure, Miami's just had a lot of open, I'm just watching them now. They've had plenty of open looks and plenty of opportunities in this series. They miss theirs. Denver hits theirs. I mean, I hate to make it sound so simplistic. And on top of that, look, if this thing ends in 5, which right now it's 60-60, 6:44 to go in the third quarter. If this ends in 5, it's about, and look, I picked Miami to win in 7. I was riding the emotion. I was riding the momentum of a team that has been doubted throughout this entire postseason. I will not apologize for that. From a betting standpoint, Miami was the only bet you could make. The odds makers were daring you to do it by making them such long odds in an NBA Finals series. We've seen plenty of times in NBA history where the team that isn't the better team wins in an NBA Finals series. There was plenty of precedent. What I was calling for in these NBA Finals, it certainly wasn't unprecedented. But if it ends in 5, now having watched the first 4.5 games plus of this series, it's going to be exactly what you thought it would be, what most rational, sane thinkers. If you gave me $100,000 of Craig Larson's money, he's our program director at SportsMap Radio. If you gave me $100,000 of Craig Larson's money and told me put it on one team, of course you would put it on the Denver Nuggets. But if I'm betting my own money and I don't have $100,000 and I just have, a few bucks and I'm trying to make a quick score, the bet was Miami. No apologies, no excuses. It's just the way I saw it. And Miami's not going to have anything to hang their heads about. The injury to Tyler Hero certainly played a role for this team. And I said this at the end of game 1, and I'll say it again. Ultimately, and also forget this, this team's been without Victor Oladipo this year. If Victor Oladipo is on this team and Tyler Hero's on this roster, this whole thing may turn out completely different. But missing both of those guys going against this Denver team, Denver with the home court, there was just too much. Doesn't change the fact that I think Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. Doesn't change the fact that I think you're talking about one of the best two-way players in Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has certainly earned the respect of those that weren't still giving it to him to this point in this postseason or to this point in his career. But I just think Jimmy Butler ran out of gas. I think Jimmy Butler's just tired. Playing both ends of the floor, 40-plus minutes every game. That 7-game series against the Boston Celtics, while it ended in a victory for Miami, I think the fact that it went 7, think about how differently. This is an interesting question. Next time I get an NBA person on, I got to remember to ask this question. Make a note of this for me to ask this question the next time we get an NBA guy on. If Miami does what it should have done, and that was finish off Boston in 4 or even 5, rather than that series going 7, going the distance, the travel, the extra minutes, all of that, I wonder if this series in the NBA Finals plays out different. Those 3 extra games that they had to play, when they essentially had taken out Boston's heart, stomped on it, stuck a knife in it, to be so descriptive in my analysis. I mean, if that thing ends in 4 or 5, that's 2 or 3 less games of wear and tear on Jimmy Butler. I mean, look, even if Miami wins tonight, they going to win game 6 and game 7 back in Denver? Probably not. And maybe Miami wins tonight and it gives us another couple days of NBA talk and NBA Finals talk before we get into the real talk of the offseason and Scoot Henderson and Victor Wembanyama and the Summer League and the draft and free agency with Kyrie Irving and what's going to happen with LeBron James and Jaylen Brown and Draymond Green and on and on and on. It's just, we're just fighting for precious minutes, precious days right now, games. Because Does anybody in their right mind think Miami's going to win the next 3 games of this series? Nobody would like to see it more than me because I picked them to win in 7. But got to be realistic about it. No, I'll tell you another thing in this series. Miami has missed so many shots in the paint. My God. Make a shot in the paint. I mean, they have missed so many opportunities close to the basket. And I get the fact that Denver's got some length. And that's a big advantage. Now, everybody talks about all the things that matter in the NBA. Length, wingspan. Those are the things that matter. Athleticism, length, wingspan. If you've got coachable guys, teachable guys, you can make it work. You can make all the rest of it work. If you've got length, you've got wingspan, you've got guys that are coachable. Denver's got all of that. So it's not a surprise where we are with 4:17 to go in the third quarter of Game 5 of this series. The surprise would be if this series has another game in Denver after tonight. That would be the real surprise. All right, we'll tell you what we got coming up on the show tonight on the other side. Your phone calls, 800-224-2004. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. We'll put that in the podcast. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Justin? Oh, okay, got it. Thanks. Yeah, just the part of it, talking about the series and all that. Justin Barbosa, producer engineer. 2 teams are tied for the longest winning streak currently in Major League Baseball. Do you know who they are? One is the Arizona Diamondbacks, having a great year, leading the NL West. The other is the Oakland A's. I'm not kidding. Nobody would have known. Oakland's won 5 in a row coming into tonight. The Mariners' longest win streak this year is 4. Right? Seattle's won 4 in a row this year once. The team that is considered arguably the worst team in the history of baseball has now won 5 games in a row. Can't make it up, man. And they're home tonight against Tampa Bay. They're scoreless in the 3rd inning. We're going to keep an eye on it. Oakland A's for the playoffs. They're going to go on the greatest run ever. They're going to be like 5 under 500 going into the second half of the year. They're going to just do something crazy. From worst to first in like the same season. Going to rescue the franchise. They're going to stay in Oakland. Everything's just going to happen. It's going to turn into like a Disney movie. All right, maybe that's a step just a little too far, but you get my point. Boy, I just saw Nikola Jokic going off on his teammates in the huddle during the timeout. Jokic was like losing his mind. I don't know what he was yelling about because obviously I don't think he's mic'd or I couldn't hear it or I don't have it on because I'm sitting here watching the game with a muted television. But this is sort of a grinded out in the trenches sort of game tonight, and that's going to favor Miami. Having, this sort of game where it's physical and neither team's making a lot of shots, you get that sort of game in the NBA postseason, and it's going to favor the team that's less talented but just plays with more heart, more intensity. And that's been Miami over the course of this entire playoffs. Maybe not every single game, but if you weigh it out over the course of the postseason, that's what Miami's been. So Miami 64, Denver 62, another Miami turnover. And Denver has now tied the game at 64 with under 2.5 to go in the third quarter, where they're hoping for a coronation tonight in Denver. With these two teams going at it. All right, let's give you the odds. Miami is up 66-64. They are plus 3.5. So it's really a simple question tonight. Do you think Miami's going to win? And even if they don't win, is this the sort of game where maybe, Denver wins it in the final seconds and Miami still covers? I think the answer to that is yes. Let's put in an official live bet tonight on the cash in. We're going to take Miami plus 3.5. Miami plus 3.5. If you are listening to the show, that is our live bet of the night. Miami plus 3.5. Matter of fact, that number just jumped to 4.5. But we said 3.5, so we'll take it at 3.5. But if you can get it at 4.5 right now, you're even better. So we'll see what happens here in this second half. Another, potentially we're down to the last 13 minutes and 49 seconds of the NBA season if this thing ends tonight. Then what are we talking about? Baseball? A little bit of hockey. Speaking of hockey, Dennis Bernstein will join us, the fourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL radio. He's hosting their coverage throughout the Stanley Cup final. We'll chat with our good friend who I absolutely love, Dennis Bernstein, on the show tonight because it might be the last time we talk to him before the end of the NHL season. Kind of sad because, once we're done with the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Final, there's a whole lot of days of talking about off-season NFL, regular season baseball. It's going to be a busy off season in the NBA, so there's going to be plenty to talk about there. Now we'll have Messi coming to MLS soon, and that'll be an interesting conversation. Denver just hit a 3. They're back on top, 69-66. First lead since it was 18-16. So Miami now has to withstand this barrage from the Nuggets at a time where Miami's just not making shots. I mean, and Denver's definitely turned up the intensity defensively as well. By the way, we will have complete post-game reaction when this one goes final. We will get sound from the post-game pressers and the podium and all that. Full coverage of the Heat and Denver Nuggets once it's gone final. So Dennis Bernstein will join us coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll get some thoughts with him on this NHL Stanley Cup final, which, the Las Vegas Golden Knights are just one win away from, really finishing the journey that started, 7 years ago, when this city of Las Vegas was awarded an NHL franchise, an expansion team. And they are closing in on something that, you would think would be unthinkable. The idea of being able to win a Stanley Cup as quickly as this team is poised to do it. It's remarkable when you really think about it. But it also just goes to show you the amount of talent. Think about expansion teams in the NBA. How long did it take for the Magic to win one? How long did it take for, not to win one, but how long did it take for Orlando to even get to an NBA final? How long did it take for the Miami Heat to win one? Think about NFL expansion teams. Jacksonville, Carolina still haven't won one. They've been around a while. Go through the league and go through the various leagues. Major League Baseball. Well, the Marlins won one quickly. Marlins won one, within 10 years? Something like that? They won one? I mean, the Marlins won one quickly. That's a success story when you talk about, expansion franchises. But I don't know if there'll ever be an expansion franchise or a story of an expansion franchise with success as quickly as we've seen here with Las Vegas, which is on the verge of closing things out here. If they can get a win tomorrow night in Las Vegas, where Dennis Bernstein is, and we'll talk to him coming up. And with no Matthew Tkachuk, in all likelihood for Florida, you just have to wonder if we're talking about a inevitability factor, or can Florida figure out some way to defy the odds again? Look, they were down 3-1, 3-1, to what was supposed to be one of the greatest teams in NHL history, this Boston Bruins team that had the most remarkable season. I mean, you're talking about a situation here where they could, they could very well wrap this thing up. But certainly Florida is going to come out swinging with just about everything they have in this fifth and potentially final game of the NHL Stanley Cup Final. All right, there's a lot to get to in the show tonight. We'll talk to Dennis Bernstein. We'll keep you posted on what's going on. Fourth quarter about to get underway in the NBA Final. Game 5, it's 71-70 Miami on top. I got a lot of topics I want to talk about tonight. Novak Djokovic, greatness undeterred. Whether it's because of his own decisions, whether it's, the world plotting against him, whatever it may be, you have to appreciate the greatness of Novak Djokovic. We'll talk about that coming up a little later on in the show. I'm feeling a little bit of sadness when it comes to this whole Live Golf PGA Tour merger thing. Because unless the Department of Justice, Congress gets involved, we're talking about monopolies and anti-competition laws and stuff like that. It looks like this whole Live Golf PGA Tour thing is just going to go, merge and get together without even a whimper. Rory McIlroy's just basically said, you know what? I was the face of the resistance. Now I'm going to go play golf with Phil Mickelson on Wednesday for a practice round. After he did everything to demean Mickelson and live golf, rightly so. Now you're going to go play a practice round with that guy? I shouldn't even say self-righteous. As righteous as I viewed Rory McIlroy, my opinion on him is quickly shifting. Anyway, we'll talk about it later in the show. I got a whole bunch to get to. On the other side, Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. Stay with us. Normal rejoin is fine. Continuing on this Monday edition of the show, time for the 2-for-1. Let's say hello to Dennis Bernstein. Does a great job on all things NHL. SiriusXM NHL Radio, thefourthperiod.com for all your hockey needs. All right, does this series end on Tuesday night, Dennis?
I think so, Jay. I think that there's just too much to overcome with respect to the injury to Matthew Tkachuk, which as I understand, it's pretty serious. And just the better team. Florida had a shot, in 3-2. Couldn't get it done late in the third period of Game 4. I just think that there's too big of a hill to overcome. Because as we talked about all series, Jay, too deep, too strong, too smart. I think it ends tomorrow night.
And look, Continuing on this Monday edition of the show, time for the 2-for-1. Let's say hello to Dennis Bernstein. Does a great job on all things NHL. Sirius XM NHL Radio, the fourthperiod.com for all your hockey needs. All right, does this series end on Tuesday night, Dennis?
I think so, Jay. I think that there's just too much to overcome with respect to the injury to Matthew Tkachuk, which as I understand, it's pretty serious. And just the better team. Florida had a shot, in 3-2. Couldn't get it done late in the third period of Game 4. I just think that there's just too big of a hill to overcome. Vegas, as we talked about all series, Jay, too deep, too strong, too smart. I think it ends tomorrow night.
And look, I feel like Florida gave it all they had. That Game 4 where they get it to 3-2, basically, with the most of the third period to play. That was their opportunity. Every series it feels like, Dennis, and not to wax poetic here, but it feels like in every series there's this moment. I always say this about sports betting. Not sports betting, but I always say this about gambling at the casino. There's always a moment at the casino where you can leave and you're up. And it's that decision of, am I going to stay? Or am I know you're in Vegas right now, so you'll appreciate this. But it's that moment where you're like, you know what? I'm up a couple of hundred, but man, I could be up 1,000 by the end of the night. And it's that decision about whether you walk away. And every night, every day of life, there's a decision or a moment. And it feels like with Florida, their moment was that third period, figuring out a way to get the equalizer again. Because, look, it's 3-1 at that point. You saw the comeback they made late in Game 3 to get the win there in overtime. And you felt like, it's going to happen again. And then Vegas was able to shut the door.
Yeah, they started too late, Jay. That was the problem. They're down 3-0. And I was turning to my partner, in the press box, I'm like, are they really going to get back in this game off a double bounce? But it's as improbable as it seems, Jay, that the way the Panthers season went, they did get back in the game. They had enough time, but Tkachuk's banged up, but they have other guys like Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Anthony Duclair. Guys haven't stepped up. Nobody stepped up when your guys hurt. And remember, Jay, Tkachuk's out on the bench for 15 minutes in the third period. In that game when they needed him the most, he's going to sit on the bench. That tells you how injured this player is. The rest of the team just didn't have his back, couldn't step up, and now they face a huge deficit. And the anticipation of Game 5, the only thing I can say, Jay, is that Vegas was here before in the conference final. They were up 3-1 at home against Dallas. Everybody was partying, ready to go to the Cup final. Dallas found a way to win. And there are two guys on the LA Kings that are probably going to remind the team tomorrow night that they were both Quick and Alex Martinez. In 2012, they were up 3-0 at home, one game to win the cup, and everybody was asking for tickets. There was limos outside Staples Center, and Jersey found a way to extend the series, took it to 6. So they really better be in their guard because I expect the most desperate, if not the most healthy, Florida Panthers team tomorrow night in Game 5.
Yeah, you mentioned Tkachuk. Cousins, Montour. A bunch of guys that didn't participate in practice yesterday. You just wonder what kind of a team they're gonna be putting out on the ice.
Yeah, well, they're going to be desperate. I assume we'll get the best effort from this team. But again, effort only gets us so far, Jay. And you have talent when you have Jack Eichel passing to Jonathan Marchessault, and Jonathan Marchessault seems to score every game. It's just too much to overcome. You have a banged-up team against a team that roll fours line and play three pairs of defensemen in Vegas. I just think it's too much to overcome. That's part of the reason, or the main reason, that Florida's in that hole, because they face a deep, bigger, more physical team in Vegas, and you're sitting on the ice in the first 4 games.
Dennis Bernstein, Sirius XM NHL Radio, thefourthperiod.com, joining us here on the Cash In on this Monday night. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, also the Cash In podcast, where you might be checking out this conversation as well. Talk about, let's get into it a little bit, because if we all assume the best case scenario for Vegas and this thing ends in 5, if not 6 or whatever it would be, we all feel like this is Vegas' series to win now. Talk about what it would mean for the owner of this franchise, Bill Foley. I was reading an interesting story today where it was basically talking about his mission: playoffs in 3, cup in 6. Basically fulfilling this, this mission of delivering a Stanley Cup. And how quickly he's been able to, this franchise has been able to deliver one. I mean, when we talk about the construction of franchises and how we got to this point, is it a blueprint? There's going to be more expansion. There's going to be other teams coming in. We've seen what's happened with Seattle and the success they've had. What kind of a blueprint has Vegas put in here?
Well, they started from a very strong base. And I'll go back to a conversation I had with Gary Bettman pregame when we do our SiriusXM show. And they asked Gary about the success of Vegas. Two cup final appearances in 6 years. Seattle taking the defending champion Colorado to 7. He goes, you know what? We want our expansion teams to do well quickly. Like, you pay them that much money. Jay, it's like, I'll use another analogy. Like, if you bought a 7-Eleven for $2 million and 7-Eleven management told you it's going to be 15 years before you're good or turn a profit, would you buy that franchise? Of course you would. No. Same thing with these guys that put up a lot of money. So it's not, people say it's fixed. It's not fixed, but you get really good players now. And if the management does the right thing, what Bill Foley and McPhee and McPrim have done, though, they're not afraid to take risks, right? Mark Stone was a banged-up player in Ottawa. They traded for him, extended to him. Jack Eichel, people said he was a dog. He was a crybaby. He'll never play again. His neck injury is too risky. They took the risk, and look what happened, right? He's not the same player he was in Buffalo because he's surrounded by better players. They were savvy enough to trade for an Alec Martinez. They had solid players, but they added to it, and they were aggressive. So at this point, maybe aggressiveness doesn't pay off all the time, but Bill Foley and this organization, it's paid off in spades, and that's why they're one game away from winning a Stanley Cup.
Is Marcia Show ultimately going to be your guy as far as Conn Smythe?
Voters love goals, Jay. Now he gets a lot of passes from Eichel, and Eichel's played as well. But I just think they look at the goal total, especially if Marshall would score a couple more tomorrow night and get to 15 goals. I think the betting odds here in Vegas, he's minus 500. I think that's going to be the guy. And Aiden Hill hasn't thrown shutouts either, so he was another option. Stone was an option. I think just on the goal total alone, voters going to see that, and Marshall's probably going to get it.
I hate to go and sort of bang on Sergei Bobrovsky because if it's not for him, they're probably not even in the Stanley Cup final. But how much of this series came down to the slow start for him in the first two games and the layoff the team had?
I think the first game for sure because he got beat by shots. I remember go back to the Whitecloud goal. That was a game winner in game one. He stopped that in games 2 and games 3. So I think that's it. The second one, see what happened, Jay, is that, yes, game 1, Bobrovsky, the rest certainly hit the goaltender more than the players. And in game 2, they just lost their focus. They tried that clown act in game 2. It didn't work. And they tried it again at the end of game 4. You can't bully a bully. And that's what they tried to do. Their approach was wrong, Jason. That's what I didn't think. You could get away with the aggressiveness that Florida Panthers had maybe against Carolina or Toronto. You can't do it against Vegas. They didn't scout the opposition. I keep going back to the fact they tried to pick on Nick Hagee, 6'6" and 220. They said, no, sorry, it doesn't work like that. You don't pick on that guy. They're too big, they're too physical, and they're not taking a step backwards. They didn't focus enough on hockey in the first couple of games, and I think that cost them. So, yes, the layoff certainly hurt Bobrovsky in game 1, but from there, it's just their approach to the game had to be different. They needed their players to make more plays, not take misconduct, not, abuse the referees. Their just approach was wrong as well. And again, that's why they're in this deep hole that I think they're going to get out of.
Dennis Bernstein, SiriusXM NHL radio host there, and also the fourthperiod.com. Check out that website for all your hockey information. Dennis, I always appreciate it. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Who knows? We might be talking before Game 6. We'll have to wait and see.
There's a Game 6. We will be talking, Jake. Thanks for the time, man.
Love Dennis Bernstein. Glad we were able to get him on tonight from Las Vegas, where he was getting ready to go have some dinner. Enjoy it, Dennis. As far as the NHL Stanley Cup Finals on the betting side, we've got Florida plus a goal and a half for Game 6, Game 5 tomorrow night. They are plus a goal and a half at minus 182. Las Vegas is minus a goal and a half at plus 150. On the money line, just flat out winners. Vegas minus 176, Florida plus 146. 5.5 is the total for the goals. So again, watch the first 10 minutes of that game tomorrow night, and I think you're gonna know a lot. How does Florida come out of the gate in that game? You know, if they come out with their hair on fire and can get a quick goal or two, you never know. Maybe Bobrovsky stands on his head for a game and you wind up with a lengthy series. Whether we have any more of a lengthy series in this Heat Nuggets NBA final, well, it's going to come down to the final few minutes of that NBA Finals Game 5. We're about midway through the fourth quarter. We'll update you on what's going on there in a couple of minutes. Stick around, more to do. The cash-in continues on this Monday. Good to have you with us. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Jimmy Butler's just giving them nothing right now. That's what I see. I just see a guy that's out of gas. And I see him passing up so many shots. My God. Dude, shoot the ball. He's passing up so many shots. Yes. He's been doing that all series. Guy doesn't shoot the ball. Fucking winners want that shot. Makes you wonder, though. Can you really have a two-way player? This is an interesting question. Can you have a two-way player that is literally the focus of your entire team? Can you win a championship with that guy, given what he's going to have to put out for 100 games, to win an NBA championship? It's an interesting question. How many guys, how many two-way players have literally been the star of their team and won a championship? And maybe Kawhi, but with the Spurs, he wasn't really the star at that point. He was emerging. Yeah, that's what I mean. Parker was there. Ginobili was there. Guess we know why he's not shooting. Can't make a shot. This guy is such a clown. I know DeAndre Ayton there and Chris Paul wasn't there, but Kevin Durant, you should still take over. Dummy. Hey, Jimmy Butler made a shot. All right, getting set to put the wraps on hour one. The phone number, oh boy, big three. Denver 86, Miami 79, 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Can the Heat make one last charge and force a game 6, or is Denver going to win their first NBA title? Ball Arena looks like it is up for grabs right now. Now Jimmy Butler decides he's going to shoot? Really? You've been passing the ball off the whole game. You can't do anything. Now you're going to shoot? Ugh. So fed up. Watching Jimmy Butler in this game. Just hit back-to-back threes did Jimmy Butler. He's passed up on so many shots. And now all of a sudden he's getting aggressive. Is Butler. Now he's taking shots. Oh, yeah, your team's on the verge of going out of the postseason. Now you're going to start taking shots? Where the hell have you been? Oh, God. Butler just gave a inadvertent kick to the groin of Aaron Gordon. Did you see that, Justin? He went to go take a jump shot, and his foot made contact with Aaron Gordon's junk. Gave him a little tickle with his feet. Yeesh. That is no fun, man. That'll be an interesting call because Gordon did walk into his landing zone. So I'll be interested to see if that's one that gets upheld. That's a three-pointer down 4 where he gets fouled, and he's looking at 3 free throws. If that call is upheld, if the officials decide to go the other way with it, then it's Denver ball up 4 with about 3 minutes to play. So a huge play in this basketball game with 3:21 to go in the fourth quarter. Miami trailing Denver 86-62. We gave you Miami on the live betting line at plus 3.5. And literally right after we gave you that, it jumped up to 4.5. So if you got it at 4.5, you're looking at a situation where you're winning by a half point. If you got it at the 3.5 we told you, then you're down by a half point. So that's where we are right now watching this NBA final. And this is going to be a huge call coming up for the officials. Now, yeah, he came into his landing zone, though. That's a tough call. Man, makes me think of those old NBA days when they say, you make the call. The NFL used to have that thing. You make the call. I don't know how you make that call. So that play is being reviewed in New York. We'll wait and see. I'm still not hearing anything or seeing anything in terms of an indication. 3:21 to go in the fourth. Denver up 86-82. If they win, they are NBA champions for the first time. If Miami wins, we will have a Game 6, I think they said, on Thursday night. So they're giving an extra day on these travel things during the series. It was such light contact by Butler's foot, and Gordon is in his space. I don't know how you overturn that. If they overturn this, and I'm Miami, I'd lose my mind. I would absolutely lose my mind. I see the official talking, but I don't see anything one way or another about whether the challenge has been upheld or not. Now I guess we're going to find out. So here's the official ruling coming down. And this is a huge play in this basketball game. Judging by the call, judging by the amount of talking he's doing. All right, I saw 3 shots. Did I see that right, Justin? That's going to be 3 shots for Jimmy Butler. Yep. Aaron Gordon's talking with the official. Oh, yeah, I see Aaron Gordon's talking to the official. But, all right, so there it is. Butler gets 3 free throws with Miami down 4 and 3:21 to go in the fourth. And also keep in mind, that's it for challenges for Denver now. So they won't get to challenge again in this game. Miami still has theirs, and you never know how that's gonna play out here in the final few minutes. But Jimmy Butler, who has been quiet all game and who everybody on the broadcast has been screaming for more from, has decided to take this game into his own hands. I don't know what the hell took him so long, but he, hit back-to-back threes, then he gets fouled on a three. He makes the first 2 free throws of the 3 free throw opportunity. And if he hits this one, he's going to have nine consecutive points, and Miami will be down 1 with under 3.5 to go in the fourth quarter. So it's right there for the Heat. I mean, you got a chance to send this thing back to Game 6. And look, at this point, all the pressure would be on Denver. They have not faced any real adversity in this postseason. If they fail to close it out at home tonight, you could bet for the first time in this postseason, I think they're going to feel some real pressure. Miami gets a defensive stop, so here we go. It's going to be a fun final few minutes of regulation here. And boy, Jimmy Butler's getting super aggressive with the basketball, trying to take over this game. And oh, is he ever! Jimmy Butler's taken over. 11 consecutive points for Jimmy Butler in this basketball game. Wow. Have you been watching, Justin, have you been watching this game? I know you're also producing and engineering the show. Have you been watching this game? Butler's just been, he's been so non-existent for 3 quarters and, 75% of the fourth quarter. I'm just blown away that this guy all of a sudden just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to start playing on the offensive end. Instead of passing up shots, he's going to start looking for his shots. He's going to get aggressive. Look at him. I'm okay if you take a shot and miss it, but at least take the shot. And he's being so aggressive offensively now. He's Kelly leaking it. You remember the Bad News Bears when Kelly Leak would catch every ball hit to the outfield? He'd do everything on the offensive side for the Bad News Bears. That's Jimmy Butler right now. He's decided to Kelly Leak the rest of this basketball game. He's like, I'm taking every shot. I'm going to draw fouls. I'm going to get to the free throw line. That's it. Miami has tied this game with 1:58 to go in the fourth, and Butler's got one more free throw. Jimmy Butler on the verge, and that's a huge play by Kyle Lowry, by the way. Batting out an offensive rebound. And boy, look, they're probably not going to win the series, but Kyle Lowry has played some exemplary basketball in this series. I didn't know he still had this much in him. Now he's kind of a role guy coming off the bench. He has played so many meaningful minutes in this postseason. Now he's undersized. He's not the player he was, but my God, the dude just balls out. He really does. What a play! They called a foul on that? How is that not a held ball? Wow. Lowry just made a hell of a defensive play against Nikola Jokic, and they called a foul on him. Wow, that could have easily been a jump ball. Whew. Well, it was on the floor call, so what a fun final few minutes of this regulation in this basketball game. Hell of a game between the Heat and the Nuggets. With Denver's going to have to earn it. I'll say this. Denver's going to have to earn it tonight. A lot of these games, they've been able to sort of build big leads and hang on. They're going to have to win it tonight in the trenches. Somebody's going to have to make a big shot late if they're going to win this title on their home floor, whether it's Jokic, whether it's somebody else. Somebody's going to have to make a big shot, a big play, a big stop. Somebody's going to have to do it. See if it's Nikola Jokic or not. 1:11 to go in the fourth. Denver on top of Miami, 90-89. There is no more live betting available on the game. We will obviously keep you posted on what is going on. We will have complete post-game reaction in the 11 p.m. Eastern hour here on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Post-game podium, press conference sound. We'll have all of that coming up. Make sure to stick around. A lot to do in the final hour of the show, or I should say in the second hour of the show. All right, we'll keep you posted. Stay with us. 2 more hours to play with. The phone number, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 if you want to talk about this NBA Finals Game 5, whenever it ends. You can also text the show. The cash-in exclusive text line is open. I haven't given that number out yet tonight. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. Hit us up on the cash-in exclusive text line. Top of the hour, more to do on the other side. Oh, it's such a bad turnover by Butler. All right. Still got time to go quick 2 here. Quick 2, foul. It's Grimace's birthday, really? Yeah. I want the Grimace milkshake. I'm all about Grimace milkshake, man. Let's go. Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, my God. That's the shot you get out of a timeout. That's the shot you get out of a timeout? Oh, my God. It's so bad. So bad. Like, they're just... what are you doing on this possession? It's a terrible possession. It's just an awful possession. Like, everybody's standing around. Another hour starts right now on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. I got to tell you, you're down. I mean, look, there's about 24 seconds left. Miami had the ball down 3. They take a timeout, one of 2 that they had remaining. And the ensuing possession out of that timeout was embarrassing. People just standing around, Jimmy Butler, dribbling around with the ball, takes some fall away turnaround 3. You have time to take a quick 2 and foul. Denver's been terrible at the free throw line in this game, although they've made their last 4. You gotta just get a quick 2 in that spot. Put the onus on Denver to make some free throws. There was so much time left. It was just such a bad possession in such a meaningful spot. Now they're down 5 with 14 seconds left, and it's pretty much a fait accompli at this point, barring something incredibly unforeseen. That's it. It's all over. They're not going to foul. The 4.5 is dead, and so is the 3.5, by the way. What an awful way to lose your bet. Oh, man. That's it. The Denver Nuggets are world champions. Wow. For the first time in their franchise history, the Denver Nuggets are NBA world champions. And Nikola Jokic kind of finishes the story. He had the back-to-back MVPs. Could have easily won an MVP this year. And now he's got an NBA championship to go along with all the individual accolades, and the Denver Nuggets are atop the basketball world. They have finally realized the dream and, seen it through to its conclusion as far as all of the potential that this franchise has had for a number of years. And it's a well-constructed franchise. I mean, not to start looking too far ahead, because they literally are raining the confetti down right now on this championship. But there's no reason to believe this Denver team can't compete for a title again next year and the year. I mean, the way this roster is constructed and, the collection of players here and the youth on this team, and sort of the mishmash of the West. Think about the Western Conference. You've got Denver, right? The second seed in the West this year was what? Memphis, right? Was the Grizzlies? That franchise is a mess right now. Their biggest star player, who knows how long he's out for some of next year, what his mental state is, and frankly, I hope above all things that he gets that situation straightened out. But, you think about the rest of the West. Phoenix, it's Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Ayton is sort of an enigma for that team. They're probably not bringing back Chris Paul. They don't know what they're doing in free agency as it relates to Kyrie Irving, who they would like to probably go and make a run at, but who knows? As that team is constructed, are they better than Denver? You going to try and convince me they're better than the Nuggets? Keep going. Golden State in transition. I mean, the West is going to keep running through Denver as far as I can see. There isn't any reason why Denver cannot continue to be a dominant force in the West. We like to think of the Western Conference as this, this paragon of talent and all of these great players. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great teams, but Denver was the top seed at the end of the year. And, as far as I'm concerned, if you start looking at the odds for next year's NBA championship, they're the team to beat next year. You can give me Milwaukee? They just fired their head coach after being the 1 seed in the East. They just fired their head coach. You're going to give me Milwaukee? You got a superstar player that is dynamic on both ends of the floor. He can't make his free throws when it matters. He got hurt in the postseason. I mean, the odds for next year, matter of fact, it's never too early to look. Oh, no. Never too early to look. The odds for the NBA Championship 2023-2024 season have already come out, ladies and gentlemen. You ready? Justin Barbosa, producer, engineer, working the show in Houston tonight. There we go. The odds have just been released by FanDuel, the unofficial sports book of the cash-in on SportsMap Radio. Unofficial, why? They don't pay. Denver, plus 460, the favorites to win it all next year. Plus 460. I don't know why anybody would make a futures bet literally right now, because you literally know that your money is going to be tied up for the next 12 months if you make a wager on Denver to win the NBA championship right now. Like, who would make that bet? I mean, there could be an avalanche that takes out Ball Arena tonight. I mean, anything. I mean, who's going to put... Why would somebody make a wager right now on a futures bet? So you ready? Denver is the top overall, has the best odds to win the NBA championship next year, Justin. Guess who is tied with them for the best odds to win the NBA championship next year? No, it's Milwaukee, and I don't know how. Milwaukee is tied for the best odds, plus 460. You're close, though. The Celtics have the next best odds, the second best odds, tied for the next best odds at plus 500. Then, let me tell you, there is not a amount of money you could give me to convince me to place a futures bet right now on anybody other than Denver. Not that I would do it, because I'm not going to tie up my money for a year and park it in a sports book somewhere. But Phoenix has the next best odds after Boston at plus 700. When I tell you who has the next best odds to win an NBA title, when I tell you, Justin, who it is, your head's going to explode. Guess who has the next best odds to win it all next year? So it's Denver, tied with Milwaukee for the best odds. Boston at plus 500. Phoenix at plus 700. Who do you think is the next best odds to win it all next year? Not even close. They're not even in the conversation yet. And when I tell you who is ahead of them, again, head's going to explode. Golden State has the next best odds to win it all. On what planet, given the fact that franchise go through some flux, they were an average team this year. They couldn't win a frigging game on the road. And Golden State has the next best odds to win it, the whole thing next year at plus 1,200. How? Like, what planet are we living on? Plus 1,200. Tied with, Justin, another team that I think has no chance to win a title next year, Philadelphia. So the odds are Denver plus 460, Milwaukee plus 460 to win it all next year. Boston plus 500, Phoenix plus 700, then Golden State and Philadelphia plus 1,200. Justin, do you know how far down that effing list Sacramento is? They are 9, 10, 11, 12. They have the 14th best odds to win it all next year. They are literally middle of the pack. Middle of the pack. The Lakers have better odds than Sacramento next year. By a lot. Teams that have better odds than Sacramento next year include Cleveland, the Lakers, the Clippers, Miami, Dallas. Train wreck. I mean, my God, just zero respect going on for the Kings right now. The Grizzlies, the Pelicans, they're in some interesting conversations right now because the Pelicans, there's talk they're going to trade up to get Scoot Henderson at the number 2 spot in the draft. That would be interesting. Then the Knicks are right after Sacramento. So the halfway point in the odds is the Knicks at plus 4,900. That's where the top half of the league is. Odds to win the NBA championship next year. Hey, you want the odds on Houston, Justin? Nah, tied for last. There are 7 teams that have that are tied for the worst odds to win it all. If you can name them, I will give you $1. 7 teams that are tied for the worst odds to win it all. Can you name all 7? Yes. No, you've already lost. It only took you 2 guesses to get one wrong. Come on, you're smarter than that. Hornets, Jazz, Magic, Pacers, Spurs, Rockets, Pistons. Those are the teams with the worst odds to win it all next year. We're coming back. Post-game sound coming up later in this hour. It's the cash-in. Minnesota. No, Minnesota's in the middle. They're like 16. Christian Braun for Denver becomes the first player, I think, ever to win a national championship one year in college basketball and then an NBA title the next year. Talk about living a charmed existence. Yeah, it is. I'm surprised it's never happened before. I don't think he won one his rookie year. Players to win basketball championship NBA. Oh, here it is. I found the info. Christian Braun would be the latest to do it. He is not the only one. Bill Russell did it. Oh, it was Magic. Yeah, it was Magic. Good job. Magic did it. Yeah, Magic won the NCAA title in 79. And then rookie year, filled in for Magic Johnson at center. And it was the famous 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. Henry Bibby. I think it is, actually. I'm pretty sure it is. Billy Thompson. A lot of Lakers did it. Yes, definitely. Christian Braun, living a charmed life, joining a very exclusive list. If you're looking on TV, you'll see him in the background behind Nikola Jokic in the postgame celebration on the podium. By the way, finals MVP Nikola Jokic. Averaged 30 points a game, 58% shooting, 14 rebounds, a little over 7 assists a game. So Nikola Jokic, your NBA Finals MVP. Christian Braun won a national championship last year with the Kansas Jayhawks, Rock Talk Jayhawk. 10 points, 3 rebounds in a wire-to-wire win over Villanova. That was the 4th national championship for the Jayhawks, and now in his first NBA season, wins an NBA championship, joins an elite class of players that have done that. Bill Russell was the first to do it. 1957 NBA title with the Boston Celtics after he won back-to-back college titles in 1955 and 56 at San Francisco, University of San Francisco, the Dons. Magic Johnson led the Spartans to a 1979 NCAA championship. And then in his rookie year, drafted by the Lakers, wins a title with them. The famous Game 6 performance filling in for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists to win an NBA title for the Lakers. Henry Bibby, who I believe is the father of Mike Bibby. Henry Bibby won a national championship at UCLA and then won one with the Knicks in the year he was drafted into the league, 1973, just 50 years ago. Billy Thompson, he was actually the last player to do the college pro double. Won an NCAA title with Louisville. It's not Louisville. It's Louisville in 1986. Then he was drafted by the Lakers in 87. Won an NBA title there. And Christian Braun only averaged 4.7 points, 2.4 rebounds during the regular season. And had a big game 4 in this series. 15 points, 3 assists, 3 steals. Denver Nuggets are NBA champions. Wow. I was just going through some of the odds on the odds to win an NBA title next year, and it really does blow your mind. Denver plus 460, Milwaukee plus 460, Boston plus 500. Sacramento, middle of the pack. Knicks, middle of the pack. Some of these I can understand being middle of the road. I can't understand the infatuation with the Warriors. That is the dumbest thing. Let me tell you something. If you want to go and place money on the Warriors to win an NBA title, let alone now, given all the flux taking place within that organization, there's an old line from the movie with Chevy Chase, National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, when the dealer says, just hand me your money, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day. Because that's what you're doing if you're putting your money on the Warriors. Even Philadelphia right now. I wouldn't touch Philadelphia. I wouldn't touch Philadelphia with Justin's money. I mean, come on. You don't know what's going to happen with James Harden, new head coach, whole off season to play out. I mean, any futures bet is idiotic right now. Again, outside of Denver, unless you've got stupid FU money, outside of Denver, I wouldn't touch any of these. Not one. So, we'll see what happens. NBA offseason is officially underway. NBA draft is just 10 days away. talking about a top overall pick of Victor Wembanyama to San Antonio, and I don't see any reason why that would change. Be the greatest surprise in the history of the NBA draft if he wasn't the first. Scoot Henderson could go number 2. There is talk that the New Orleans Pelicans might move up in the draft to go and get him, which would be very interesting. It would make for a very interesting story if you're talking about the New Orleans Pelicans at 2. I mean, imagine Scoot Henderson. I mean, that roster as it is already has a lot of length. You add Scoot Henderson to a team, I mean, who the hell knows what's going on? Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, Zion Williamson, if he ever plays. If they could be healthy with Scoot Henderson on that roster next year, be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun next season in New Orleans with that franchise if they have Scoot Henderson in addition to the rest of that roster. 1-800-224-2004. Denver is the NBA champions. You want to talk about it? Let's do it. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. You want to text the show? 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. Hey, Justin, do you play video games at all? What do you play if you do? So my husband tells me on our PS5, he has that subscription thing where, what's it called? PlayStation Plus. Do you have a PS5 or you have an Xbox? Okay, so he has PlayStation Plus. So we get all those free games that they give out every month. Yeah, so he's got so he said, I've never played NBA 2K. Have you played the 2K series, the NBA series at all? Really? I've never played it. I don't think I've played an NBA game on a gaming console since the old EA Sports NBA games that used to be out on the Sega Genesis days, I'm talking. Long time ago. So he's trying to convince me to play NBA 2K23. I think it's called 2K23, right? Yeah? Okay. So I'm thinking of playing some NBA 2K23. Gonna give it a shot. I've played the baseball. I played what? The Show? Was that the one I played? MLB The Show? Yeah, I played that a couple of years ago and I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't stick with it. Because much like the story of my life, I just can't go through an entire season on these things. But yeah, I think I'm going to start playing 2K23. I might even go play it on Twitch or something, and people can watch and just make fun of me or something like that. But I'm thinking of getting NBA 2K23. Give it a shot. Yeah, listen. It would be good content, but here's the problem, Justin. Between social media, doing this radio show every night, now we've got the TV show, the SportsMap, which will be coming to a TV outlet near you soon. I want to spill news tonight, but I can't because it's not official yet. But we're on the verge of announcing a TV deal for the SportsMap, where I'll be able to tell people all over the country where they can watch the show. But I can't say anything yet. Talked to my business guy tonight, and we're just about ready to announce something, but gotta wait. So, and we're still in the midst of deciding if we want the SportsMap to be a daily show. Do we want it to be a weekly show? Right now, it's a weekly show. I kind of want to do it every day. So, some of the things we're trying to figure out right now. But the good news is we've got somewhere to put the show. So, very exciting news. We'll be telling you about it in the days and, well, hopefully just the days ahead. Hopefully we don't even have to wait for the weeks. So stay tuned. We'll have news on that. So between doing all that, my point is, Justin, I don't have time for more content. But then again, if I'm just playing 2K23 anyway, all you gotta do is flip a switch and I'm on Twitch, right? Pretty much. And people go watch me. Do you play on Twitch? No. Do you watch Twitch? Do you watch Twitch? Nah. Yeah, it seems like the sort of thing that'd be more in your age range than mine. Some 45-year-old playing NBA 2K on Twitch. I don't know how many people want to watch that. We're coming back halfway home on the Cash In. Post-game sound next. So 2K's gone downhill on the NBA side? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, the PlayStation Plus thing is pretty cool. We're always getting like free games with that. It's pretty neat. Oh my God, the A's are beating the Rays right now. It's awesome. I love it.
Zach Eflin's start. That's in the gap. And that's going to get down. And that's going to score 3 runs. Bride, Peterson, and Smith. Langoliers delivers 3-0 Oakland.
That's awesome.
That is a huge at-bat for Shea Langoliers.
That's so awesome.
Strength to series.
There's things that come with that.
That's slammed up the middle, and it's 4-0 Oakland.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So they're up 4-3 in the bottom of the 6th. On the verge of 6 wins in a row. It's just nuts. Angels and Rangers, bottom of the 11th, 5-5. Walk-off win for Spencer Torkelson.
He's going to have to stay on one of them.
There you go. Hey, it's going to be a great post game.
Yes, it is. Yeah, baby.
Because we were so preoccupied with the NBA Finals, we haven't even spent a minute or even more than a minute talking about the wild weekend. I mean, there were two really cool moments in sports this weekend that I want to make sure we get some time to talk about on the show tonight. We'll have complete post-game reaction. Excuse me. Complete post-game reaction on the Nuggets NBA championship. Tonight, they complete the dream, win an NBA title. They were celebrating in Serbia, Sombor, Serbia tonight. And they're partying out in the streets of Denver. Don't do anything stupid. I know we're on in Denver. Don't do anything stupid tonight in Denver, people. Celebrate, take the streets over. That's all great. Just don't do anything dumb. Don't set things on fire. Don't burn any buildings down. In Miami, it's just another night, by the way. I know I always crush. I'm not crushing fans in Miami. I'm really complimenting just how amazing that city is. Because, all right, you were in the bar watching the game, your team lost, you walked outside and you're on South Beach. It's not that bad. It really isn't. If you're going to be in a losing city on the night the NBA Finals ends, you want to be in Miami. That's all I'm going to say. You want to be in Miami, so you're okay with that. So as soon as we have post-game podium sound, we will bring that to you here on the show. And we'll see what Eric Spoelstra has to say and Miami Heat players have to say. Let me give you the one sort of post-game analysis on this. And I don't want to sound like I'm crushing Jimmy Butler. That's not my intent. But at the same time, I think we have to talk about the fact that he basically did absolutely nothing for the first 42 minutes of this basketball game. And then decided, oh, wait, there's 3.5, 4 minutes left in the game. I'm supposed to actually be trying to help us win this thing. I mean, he finished with 21. He had 13 in the final 4 minutes. He was 5 of 18 shooting. 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. I'm sorry. We could talk all day about what he did, and I get it's a very difficult thing to sort of dissect because on one hand, they're not even in the NBA Finals without Jimmy Butler's heroics through the first 3 rounds of the postseason. They're not even there. But when you want to be considered as one of the greats, you've also got to finish the deal. And in this NBA Finals, he was practically non-existent. And there's just no getting around that. Miami shot 34.4% from the field tonight. And they had a couple of just god-awful shooting games. I mean, they reverted back to much of what they were. For a team that was 44-38 during the regular season. And that's why this thing ended up the way it did. And Denver, steady wins the race. They basically stayed true to themselves, stuck to what they knew, the kind of team they were all year. And at the end of the day, they're celebrating their first NBA title. Congratulations. They win in 5. 47th season in the NBA for the Denver Nuggets, which is the most at any time for a first title for a team in the league. That's stat courtesy of ABC and ESPN. 47 seasons to win their first title. They were 16-4 in the playoffs. And again, we could talk about the teams they played, and that all has to be a part of the conversation, and some context is always needed in these things. But, and it's a big but, 16-4 in the playoffs. playing against the best of the best in the league. Yeah, they didn't do it against Philadelphia. Yeah, they didn't do it against Boston or Milwaukee, winning 5. They didn't have to play Sacramento in this postseason or Memphis. So it's difficult to put them, up at the upper echelon of the greatest teams and, championship runs and things like that. And they certainly had their points of the season where you might have questioned how good they are. But they have earned all the accolades that are coming their way. And again, I said this shortly after the game ended, and I'll say it now. There isn't anything that dissuades me from the idea that right now they're the best team going into next year. And honestly, I don't even know if it really matters what other teams do. I mean, if Kyrie goes to Phoenix, does that change my mind? Probably not. Because one of the things you love about Denver is they've got depth. Green was able to do some things off the bench. Bruce Brown was so good off the bench for them. You saw what Braun did. I mean, that's a good team. And, if Phoenix goes and adds Kyrie Irving, and they still got a great starting lineup, but I have serious reservations about what they're going to be able to put around those guys from a cap perspective. I mean, it's going to be a struggle in Phoenix to put things around those guys. And you got to worry about keeping Kevin Durant healthy for an entire year. None of that matters tonight, though. Denver, your NBA champions. They win at 94-89. And by the way, remember who told you before the postseason started? I'm going to do an I told you so here. I told everybody before the season started. When you saw all these ridiculous high-scoring games during the regular season, the 130, 128, 125, 120, that was the norm, and guys are scoring 50 all the time and putting up these ridiculous, NBA 2K23 numbers. All that looked great during the regular season, but when it came down to it in the playoffs, when you talk about the playoffs, different animal. Talk about the playoffs. How many 50-point games did you see in the entire postseason? Super high-scoring games. How many of those did you see? This NBA Finals series? Let me give you the finals of the games. 104-93. 111-108 was the high water mark of the series. 111-108. Game 3, 109-94. Game 4, 108-95. The closeout, 94-89. When it comes down to it in the postseason, it still comes back to defense. Still comes down to a different energy level, a different intensity level on the defensive side of the ball. Guys not giving away possessions on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. A premium on possessions. That's it. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that's just sort of, it tells you that there's the NBA regular season, and we could sit here and go through all the analysis and try to pontificate and try to predict what we think is going to happen in the playoffs. All that's fun. But when you get down to it and you start talking about the postseason and trying to analyze and look ahead at what's going to happen, it's hard to use the regular season because it's a completely different game when you get to the playoffs. And this series was the textbook example of that. 197 points scored in game 1. 219 scored in game 2. 203 scored in game 3. 203 scored in game 4. And 183 scored in game 5. I mean, I bet you how many of these games went under I don't have the figures in front of me, but I'll guarantee you a lot of them went under. All right, you got something to say about the NBA Finals? Let me hear it. Hit us up on the text line, 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549. Waiting on post-game from the Miami Heat. The Nuggets will also have some post-game sound that we'll get to as well. So stick around for that. Lots more to do. The cash-in on a Monday. The Nuggets are world champions. This is SportsMap Radio. Wow. Stanford Super Regional. 6-6, bottom of the ninth, Stanford and Texas. Whew. That decides who goes to the College World Series, yes. Popped them up. Oh my God, they couldn't find it. Did you just see how that ended? Oh my God. So it was first and second, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. Routine fly ball to center field. Center fielder and right fielder, neither could find it in the lights. Game over. What a way to lose. Holy shit. Oh my God, that's heartbreaking. I gotta turn this on. Hold on, I gotta hear this. They can't find it. Oh my God. What a way to win. And what a way to lose. Oh my God. That is the worst thing I've ever seen. Watch this, babe. This is crazy. Watch. This is how they win and go to the World Series. They can't find the ball. Could you imagine? Play an entire season and lose like that. Wow. Oh, God, that is crushing.
4 separate guys didn't see it. O'Dowd, Daly, Kennedy, Campbell all had the exact same movements in the outfield. It was that move that you see all the best players do when they can't see it. And the arms kind of go out and they're searching as much as they possibly can. Nobody could find it.
That's just... Oh, it's the worst.
They just couldn't find it.
You're just heartbroken. You're just heartbroken.
So, got everything he could in this one.
That, a game should never end that way. That's just... All right, I might have just watched one of the most heartbreaking ways to lose an important game that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, that's just the worst. So Stanford and Texas are playing in the Stanford Super Regional. Bottom of the ninth, it's 6-6. Stanford's got runners on first and second, 2 outs. Kid for Stanford at the plate hits a routine fly ball to right field. It's kind of right center. The center fielder and the right fielder, you could immediately see neither of them could find the baseball. And it just dropped right in front of the right fielder. And that's how the game ended. I mean, that's just, wow. That is like one of the all-time saddest ways to lose a baseball game. And you could just see the tears on the faces of the Texas players as they're standing there after the game. That's just the worst. There's no way a game should end that way when it's talking about the winner going to the College Baseball World Series. Wow, that's just devastating. They keep showing the highlight of it. You can see the guy running around first going, oh, bleep. They can't find the ball. Yeah, go ahead, Justin. Oh, my God. It's the worst way ever to lose a game. Other than like ground ball gets by Buckner, here comes night and the Mets win 86 World Series. Other than that, I don't think I've ever seen like a worse way to lose a winner go home, like sort of postseason. I've never seen anything that bad. Just the worst. Oh, they're celebrating in the streets of Denver. Don't do anything stupid out there tonight. Hopefully our boy Nick Ferguson is safe. My man out there in Denver, the former NFL safety. Hopefully he's not in the midst of all that. The streets are just packed full of people. Looks like police have done a good job, though. It looks like they've basically shut down part of downtown Denver and just said, all right, you guys can have this area. You're not going anywhere else. If you're going to destroy stuff, you're going to destroy it in like a 2-block radius. That's about it. Oh, man. Eric Spoelstra, post-game sound with the head coach of the Miami Heat after what has to be a difficult ending to the season, falling to the Denver Nuggets in 5 games. Right now on the cash-in, here is Eric Spoelstra.
To compete and to be able to handle, different things, adversity, all that. But, I'll speak for everybody in our locker room and the organization. Congratulations to the Denver Nuggets organization. They're a class act, and they're one hell of a basketball team. And we couldn't really find, obviously, enough solutions to be able to get us over the top.
Left side, first row.
What's up? So Wes Lammy, WorldWideWest.com. Spo, just that final 2 minutes, like you were mentioning just there, what stood out to you in terms of you guys kind of holding them, but just the shots weren't falling in any way?
I don't know. Those last 3 or 4 minutes felt like a scene out of a movie. 2 teams in the center of the ring, throwing haymaker after haymaker, and it's not necessarily shot making. It was the efforts. Guys were staggering around because both teams were playing and competing so hard. That's what this league should be about. There's no regrets on our end. There's just some times where you get beat, and Denver was the better basketball team in this series. That's about as hard. I don't know how long it'll take me to go through, the autopsy of this final game, but I would say that will probably rank as our hardest, competitive, most active defensive game of the season, and it still fell short. And then probably our second highest rated game would have been Game 4, and we fell short by double digits. So that just gives you an indication of how good this Denver Nuggets team was in this series, but also throughout the course of the season and all of the playoffs. They were the superior team in every series, and they deserved this championship.
Back row in the middle.
Robert Littau, BSO. Could you just speak about the entire journey of this playoffs from, almost not making it in through the play-in game, being an 8th seed, going all the way through the finals? What does that say about your team, you as a coach, and what lessons do you think just regular people can take from you guys' journey from where you started to where you're at right now?
Yeah, we would have liked to have been able to climb the mountaintop to be able to get that final win. But I think this is a team that a lot of people can relate to. If you've ever felt that you were dismissed or felt that you were made to feel less than. We had a lot of people in our locker room that probably have had that, and there's probably a lot of people out there, that have felt that at some time or another. But also the way this team handled setbacks and adversity, to develop a collective grit and perseverance. I mentioned this before, that hopefully these are lessons that'll transcend this beautiful game, that hopefully these are lessons that we can pass along to our children, that even though it is sport, that you can learn, lessons of life from this game, and that you can persevere. You can handle what people may view as many failures along the way, and become stronger from it, and to be able to overcome things and find beautiful things on the other side of that. Now, obviously, we didn't get the final win, but sometimes, that's true in sport and also in life, that you don't always get what you want. But there's no regrets from our side. Everybody, staff, player alike in the locker room, put themselves out there and put themselves into the team, whatever was best for the team. And the tough pill to swallow is it just wasn't good enough. We ran it up against a team that was just better than us in this series. And you have to tip your hat to them. That I said it, but they're one hell of a basketball team. They play the right way. They compete. They're well coached, and they have a strong culture. So for this season, they deserve this.
We'll take 2 more questions. Left side.
Thank you.
Fifth row.
Spo, Nick Friedel, ESPN. To follow up on what you touched on, what was the message that you just imparted to the group?
A little bit of that. Sometimes it's just not your time. Some of the message that I gave the team is an intimate message just for the group. But what I can tell you, we're all hardwired to compete for the ultimate prize. But you also want to develop lifelong memories and a brotherhood and a bond that you'll be able to carry on from years from now, that we've been able to go through something that's memorable. I told each one of the guys I love them. I love this team. And I'm just super grateful that we're able to go through all of the experiences, even the tough times during the year, to be able to have a season like this. This is one for the journal books, right? That we're, I don't know about all the guys, journaling, but this is certainly, one that I'll journal and remember this team, forever. And the years from now, I'll bump into some of these guys and we'll have this bond, even though we didn't get that final prize.
Great stuff from Eric Spoelstra. And you know what? I just think he said it so well. They just didn't have answers. They lost to the better team. So many times in an NBA Finals, we get into who did what, and it's, I could sit here and get on Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler would have had to have been Superman to carry this team to an NBA title. So I think it's fair. I think it's fair to criticize his play in this series, But even if Jimmy Butler plays like Jimmy Butler in this series, I don't think the Heat win. It's more competitive. Might be a longer series. Denver's still going to win this series. Miami just didn't have the horses to win a 7-game series where that length of series, it bears out who the best team is. Final hour right around the corner. More post-game sound coming from Denver, too. Stay with us. Final hour of a Monday/Tuesday edition of the show. Midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Appreciate you all being here with us. As we keep an eye on post-game sound, Mike Malone, a short time ago at the podium, wins an NBA title in his 8th season as a head coach, Mike Malone. NBA title, 8th season as head coach of the Nuggets. That's the second longest that it's taken a tenured head coach to win his first NBA title with a given team. Pat Riley, it took 9 years in Miami with the Heat. Here's Mike Malone, post-game with him here on the Cash-In on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app, talking about this win for the Denver Nuggets. 94-89, they are NBA champions for the first time in franchise history. Amazing stuff. Let's listen into what he had to say to the media just a short time ago.
The beginning of something.
You know, Pat Riley said something many years ago. I used to have it up on my board when I was a head coach in Sacramento, and I talked about the evolution in this game and how you go from a nobody to an upstart, and you go from an upstart to a winner, and a winner to a contender, and a contender to a champion. And the last step is after a champion is to be a dynasty. So we're not satisfied. We accomplished something this franchise has never done before, but we have a lot of young, talented players in that locker room. And I think we just showed through 16 playoff wins what we're capable of on the biggest stage in the world. And the best part about it is the people I just did that with. I mean, I love those guys. I love my coaches. Stan and Josh Kroenke are incredible owners. Their support, their continued belief. Calvin Booth, first year as a GM. And I just have to say on a personal note, a huge thank you to my mother and father. You know, I just spoke to them, let them know how much they're a part of this. Their love and support all along has meant the world to me. My beautiful wife, Jocelyn, my 2 daughters, Caitlin and Bridget. I'm a really blessed person. And I'm really enjoying this moment, so don't screw it up by asking a stupid question.
All right, I won't. Standing on the front right.
Uh-oh. He will.
2 things. First half, 3-point shot just would not go down. So talk about the fight and the feistiness of this team tonight. And second, go back to your parents. I know you text your dad all the time. What does it mean for a coach's son to I don't know, do your dad proud by winning this championship?
Well, to your point, the first question, foul trouble, Aaron, Nikola, Jeff. I thought DeAndre played a few minutes, but he went out there and did his job. So you couple the foul trouble with we couldn't make a free throw or a 3-point shot, and we're down 7 at halftime. And that was my message at the break, kids, was that, you know what? We haven't played well. We've had foul trouble. We can't make a shot. We're only down by 7 points. And what I was most proud about was that throughout the game, if your offense is not working and your shots are not falling, you have to dig in on the defensive end. And I thought our defense tonight was great. The one area that was troublesome was their offensive rebounding. We were defending. We just weren't finishing it off with a rebound. In those last couple of minutes, you know, the clock seemed like it was just moving really slow. And as you realize what you're about to accomplish, you know, it's almost surreal. And what it means for me, you know, growing up, the son of a coach, he was a CYO coach at Precious Blood Parish in Queens. He was a high school coach at Pound Memorial Academy in New York City, college coach, NBA coach. And I just told my mother and father, they were not able to be here, but they're with me. You know, they're in my heart. I love them. And they have sacrificed for me, my 3 sisters, my 2 brothers, and they've paid it forward. And I can't thank them enough, and I love them very, very much.
Third row in the center.
Shane Young with Ford Sports. Coach, what's it say about Michael to have a rough shooting series and game tonight for the most part and still find ways to be effective down the stretch and on defenses particularly?
Well, it's a maturation, a continued maturation. And, you know, we all know that Michael didn't shoot the ball as well as we know he can. That's going to happen at times. And this is a great experience for him because I think he realized, as I continue to tell our team, there are no specialists allowed in this squad. If your jump shot's not falling, do something else to help your teammates. Not yourself, help your teammates. Defending, rebounding, hustling, whatever it may be. But I think it's really important. Let's not judge Michael Porter just on his shooting in the finals. I mean, like, look at Michael Porter's performance in the Western Conference Finals against Phoenix, against Minnesota, and more importantly, throughout the season. So, Michael's only going to get better. And to have he and Jamal back healthy, this is what I really envisioned a few years ago when we got Aaron Gordon. And, sometimes a dream is deferred, and our dream was deferred for a few years, but we stuck with it, and we added the right pieces. Huge shout-out to Calvin Booth and the job that he's done. And, this is just an unbelievable feeling.
Brandon, standing on the right.
Hey, Coach, Brandon Cristal, KOA here in Denver. I think I asked you last year at the end of the year as the Avs were going on their run and the Rams had just won. Is there any added pressure? And you kind of downplayed that, but now with them getting that Stanley Cup last year and obviously the Rams, how good does it feel to know that yours is right up there alongside them, in the Kroenke's trophy case?
Well, I was just joking with Josh, as the champagne is being sprayed all over the place. I said, Josh, I'm a rookie at this. I really don't know what I'm doing, but you're used to this. You've won, Stanley Cups, Super Bowls, but our ownership group has been phenomenal throughout this entire process. 8 years is a long time, and very thankful, as I've said many times, in allowing this to get to this point, and win a championship. And, Stan and Josh are great owners. They allow us to do our job, and I'm just thankful that we were able to add to that, and I never felt any pressure. There was never any pressure, it was just, and I know they love all their teams, but I will tell you this. Stan Kroenke grew up a basketball fan. He loves his Rams. He loves every other team he has. So I'm not this delicate situation, but he's a basketball fan. He grew up a basketball. And Josh played Division I basketball. So I think this one is really special for them. And I have to really make sure I shout out our fans. Like, it's, that atmosphere tonight was incredible. And I remember, year one, 8 years ago, and how far we've come and what we've built. And the fans are a huge part of that. And what really touched me was somebody showed me the video of Game 4 when we were in Miami, and to see 19,000 people in this building going crazy. They're part of this. Our fans are a part of this. So a huge shout out to Nuggets Nation for showing up, representing, and a lot of love for them.
Third row over here.
Coach Andy Bailey from Bleacher Report. Nikola Jokic is now one of 11 players with 2 regular season MVPs and 1 finals MVP.
How many?
One of 11 players in the history of the game. What's it been like to go on this journey, the two of you together?
It's been amazing, because you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it from the basketball perspective, 2 MVPs, finals MVP, world championship, and everything he's done on the court. And then more important for me, you can look at off the court, the relationship, the love that I have for Nikola, his mother and father back in Sombor, Serbia, his brothers Nemanja and Strahina, his wife Natalia and their daughter Ognjena. They're a wonderful family that I've gotten very close to. And I've said this many times before, but Nikola, even tonight, like, he's kind of acting like this was like another game. He's never changed with all the success, and he never will. It's just not in his nature. I love Nikola. 8 years. Love Jamal. 7 years. Been through a lot, and just for all of us to stay the course, to challenge ourselves to all get better, collectively, individually. It's great to be a part of such a historically great player who's an even better person, and I mean that sincerely. This is not coach talk. Nikola is just a great man.
So there you go. Michael Malone, head coach of the Denver Nuggets. 94-89, Nuggets beat the Heat. They are NBA champions for the first time in franchise history, and that is 47 long years. Congratulations to that franchise, that fan base in Denver, and boy, only a couple things missing, right? Let's get the Rockies straightened out. I think they won tonight in Boston against the Red Sox. 4-3 in 10 Rockies beat the Red Sox. And let's get the Broncos figured out, and everything will be just fine. My boy Ezekiel Tovar up there in Colorado has been playing really well. Not tonight. He was 0 for 5 with a strikeout, but Tovar's starting to show some of that promise that, or starting to deliver on some of that promise that people have been looking at up there. All right. We've heard from the two head coaches from both the Heat and the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic just poured some beer onto one of his teammates' heads as they were up at the press conference podium. I'm so happy. You know what? Nikola Jokic deserves it. He really does. I mean, when you consider, the fact that he didn't win MVP this year, he could have very easily been the first 3-time MVP since Larry Bird did it back in the 80s. This is, the best way the best way this season obviously could have finished, given the fact that he didn't win that MVP award. Now he is, as you heard somebody in the press conference point out, one of just 11 players in NBA history to be a 2-time MVP and an NBA Finals MVP. Only 11 in the history of the game. That's amazing. All right, the best from the weekend. I want to get to that on the other side later in the hour. We'll talk about the NHL Stanley Cup Final with the Vegas Golden Knights trying to finish off the Panthers. Dennis Bernstein will join us later on. Stay with us. I don't think so. I don't think so offhand, because we were pretty much doing live coverage, you know what I mean? So there isn't a lot that really makes sense for the podcast. Yeah, that's what I mean. 15 minutes past the hour. We continue on SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app, all of our video streaming platforms as well. You can watch us on Twitch, Jason Page 77, on TikTok. No, not TikTok. What am I saying? TikTok. Twitter, at the back page. Or just look for the Cash In on YouTube or Facebook. You'll find it. We're there broadcasting live. The show available to you guys. And don't forget, more information coming soon on how you can watch our new TV show, The Sports Wrap. Working on some fun things there. We'll let you know as soon as something is finalized. But things are happening. Things are happening. It's very cool. Fun to be putting together different types of programming for you guys. So I'm watching the highlight. Oh, God. It just, like I said, the urgency from Jimmy Butler in the last 4 minutes of this game, it's just head scratching. That he basically did nothing for 85% of the game and then decided to play. And then, by the way, he had the key turnover late in the game, turning the ball over. Had a key turnover late in the game. I shouldn't say the key turnover, but it was definitely a big one. They were down 1 with the basketball, and he turned the ball over. Then he had a turnaround 3 that went begging with about 15 seconds left, and that was basically all she wrote. And Denver wins their first NBA championship. All right, talk from best of the weekend. Let me get this in. This is going to sound totally stupid coming off the end of the NBA Finals. And I know people are going to think I'm nuts bringing this up. But if you did not watch on Sunday the end, oh my God, are people nuts? They're running through like fireworks. Like people are literally like trying to self-immolate themselves. Like what are people? Winning a championship is not a license for stupidity. Oh my God. Anyway, the RBC Heritage yesterday in Toronto, just outside Toronto, the PGA Tour event, that might have been the best finish to a sports event this year that you're going to see. The best. Nick Taylor winning his country's national championship on the 76th hole of the event, because they went to 4 extra holes, and he hits a 72-foot putt to win it and beat Tommy Fleetwood, who's a damn good golfer in his own right. But if you didn't see it yesterday, there are very few times you play a golf highlight. There's very few times you play a golf highlight on the radio, but this is the one time I think it's acceptable to do so.
Flag. Good pace. Are you serious? Oh my goodness! Glorious and free!
I mean, winning your country's national championship, first golfer from Canada to win this event in 69 years, and to do it on a walk-off on the 76th hole from 72 feet, with all your countrymen rooting you on, all the PGA players from Canada standing there on the 18th green as they played it for the 3rd time in this sudden death. I mean, it just doesn't get better. You don't have to be a golf fan. If you didn't see that this weekend, I feel bad for you. Because it was not just the best of the weekend, it might have been the best of the entire year so far. And we're midway through the year. If that isn't like an ESPY nominee for shot of the year, then they need to stop giving out the award. I mean, I mean, can anybody think offhand? Anybody with a better memory than me? 888-670-8549. Text the show. If there's been something better than that this year, I want to know what it is. Text me. 888-670-8549. We're basically halfway through the year. What if that's not the shot of the year right now in sports, then what is? Shoot me up on the text line. Let me know what you think. 888-670-8549 from anywhere in America on the text line. Your name, where you're texting from, and tell me if that Nick Taylor putt from 72 feet to win it yesterday in Canada wasn't the shot of the year. You tell me what is. I want to hear it. By the way, Nikola Jokic, 6th player born outside the United States to win an NBA Finals MVP. I would love to try and guess the others, but I fear I would fail. I mean, Giannis is probably one, right? Giannis won the Finals MVP when the Bucks won the title, right? Yeah, so I would go Giannis. That's an obvious one. Dirk. Yeah, I would say Dirk would be another. Let's see. Do you have the list in front of you by any chance, Justin? No. Because I'm just trying to think of who else would be on that list. See, I don't know if Kobe was born in the U.S. See, that might be a trick question, because wasn't Kobe born overseas, or was he born in the U.S.? But he's okay. So that one we won't include. Who else? NBA Finals MVP. Would Tim Duncan? Would Tim Duncan be on that list? I would think Tim Duncan would be on that list. God, there's got to be some obvious ones that we're not thinking of. I guarantee you there's got to be some obvious ones I'm not thinking of. Oh, Hakeem the Dream. Good job. You got the list now? Oh, it's a good job thinking of you, though. Thinking of that one, not knowing the list. NBA Finals MVPs born outside the U.S. This is what you need ChatGPT for. Tony Parker. See, you wouldn't think of Tony Parker, but yes, France. Tim Duncan, Virgin Islands. Dirk. Giannis. So it's Olajuwon, Parker, Dirk, Giannis, Duncan, and Nikola Jokic. Those are the 6. Tony Parker, I would have sat here all day and not thought of that, because you never think of him as an NBA Finals MVP. And Hakeem's an obvious one. That's a good job by you, because I didn't think of that one. Good stuff. Now, NBA MVPs born outside the United States. That's a slightly different conversation. Hakeem, Steve Nash, Dirk, Giannis, Jokic. That's it. That's the list of NBA MVPs born outside the United States. Hit us up on the text line, 888-670-8549. Again, the Nick Taylor shot, to me, that's the shot of the year. That is definitely the shot of the year. I don't have a ton of time here, and I don't want to shortchange Novak Djokovic, but the guy just won his 23rd Grand Slam title. 23. I mean, it's just out of this world. He beat Casper Ruud yesterday in the French Open final. And look, I said this the other day. I felt like we were kind of cheated, because on Friday morning, so on Thursday night, I told everybody, Friday morning, watch Djokovic Alcaraz. It was going to be great. And it was great for 2 sets. And then Alcaraz cramped up, and that was the end of the match. He got dusted in the 3rd and 4th set, 6-1, 6-1. And you feel awful, because it made the finals against Ruud so anticlimactic, because I don't think there was a single person in this planet that would have picked Ruud, who's never beaten Djokovic. I don't think there's a single soul alive who was going to pick him to win that match. And you could see he was clearly outclassed by Djokovic. But I mean, at 36 years old, there's no signs of this guy slowing down. He might win 30 before he's done. He's going to put this thing so far out of reach that nobody's going to even dare to try to eclipse him. I mean, who's going to win 30 in the next generation or two? It's not going to happen. He won his first title when he was 18. He's 36 and he just won his 23rd. It's out of this world. I'll have more to say about it on the other side. Stay with us. It's the Cash In. Here's one. Mike. Things are I'm pains, but things are moving, and I have to in a good direction. Yeah. Make money. And if you and take it. But people are working hard. Absolutely nothing. People I'm not saying put in 15 hour days like me. All right, continuing with the show. We'll finish it with some NHL Stanley Cup talk in the next segment. Our 2-for-1 tonight with Dennis Bernstein, the fourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL radio from Las Vegas. We'll get some thoughts with him on the upcoming Game 5 in that series with Vegas trying to close out the Florida Panthers. And it's one of those things that tells you everything you need to know about hockey. Because, Vegas has won pretty handedly the first 3 of the 4 games in this series. And even with that being said, Game 5 in Las Vegas tomorrow night, you're still talking about a series that's 3-1. And Florida is an underdog, but not an overwhelming underdog because of the day-to-day nature, the game-to-game nature of hockey. And Sergei Bobrovsky could show up tomorrow night and stand on his head, and Florida, gets some fluky goal and wins 1-0, and we're back in Florida in Sunrise for Game 6 of this series on whatever. I don't know if it's Thursday night or Friday night, whenever they would have Game 6 of that series. So Dennis Bernstein will join us in the 2-for-1 tonight. We talked to him in the first hour of the show. You'll get to hear that again coming up to finish out the show in the next hour. But you just can't say it enough, especially when you talk about when you start to talk about what the Panthers have done this season in defying all the odds to get to this point. But it really is funny to see just how similar it is between the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat. Both teams barely get into the postseason. They're enormous underdogs in every series, defy the odds, advance all the way to the finals in their respective leagues, and they both might lose their championship series 4 games to 1. What are the odds? Sports just has that weird thing where that kind of stuff happens. But just to go back and tie the bow on the point on Novak Djokovic, if I can. We're now talking about a guy that missed a handful of Grand Slam championships during COVID. Has 23 Grand Slams. The door is shut on the conversation as far as I'm concerned. I don't like him personally. He rubs me the wrong way. And he has softened a little with age as he's gotten older. But you cannot deny, you cannot disrespect the talent that is Novak Djokovic. And Joe Posnanski wrote a great piece for Esquire. I almost got him on tonight to talk about it. It's called Why Novak Djokovic is Perfect Under Pressure. And it talks about what makes him so unbeatable when the stakes are the highest. And he was down 4-1 in the first set on Sunday morning, or as it would be where he was Sunday afternoon. He was down 4-1 through the first 5 games. Then he broke back. And then all of a sudden, Djokovic, it winds up going to a tiebreaker, and he just winds up, he's unstoppable in tiebreakers. He's always been that good in tiebreakers. The guy is just, his greatness cannot be denied. And again, when you're talking about individual sports and not team sports, and I think you do have to qualify because there is a difference. We talk about Tiger, you get into the conversation, you start talking about in this generation, Novak Djokovic or Tiger Woods. Now, again, they're different, and you have to break it down and talk about, one is playing against an entire field, one is in more of a bracket tournament style. Yeah, sometimes it's luck of the draw, who you get on a particular day. But right now, if you talk to me and say in this generation, Tiger, and I'm the biggest Tiger Woods fan that you'll ever find, you tell me Tiger, you tell me Novak Djokovic. Are you picking Tiger over Novak Djokovic? I mean, I don't know. I think it's a fair question. And look at the greatness that has existed in the same era as Djokovic. Not just Nadal and Federer, but he came in on the back end of Sampras. He came in Andy Murray at his peak. I mean, there were a lot of great players when you span through the last 18 years of Novak Djokovic's career, from his first Grand Slam title to where we are now. And you're talking greatness. There's a lot of greatness in there. And don't get me wrong, Tiger had to deal with his share of greats. Phil Mickelson, he was on the back end of Vijay Singh and Ernie Els, on the back end of their great careers. A lot of great golfers that spanned the generation of Tiger's career up until his last Masters a few years ago. And who knows if it's his last ever, but what's more impressive? The 23 for Djokovic or the 13 or whatever it is, for Tiger Woods? I think it's a very interesting conversation. I don't like doing the Mount Rushmore thing. 15 majors for Tiger. Sorry. And he's 14-1 when going in. And again, you talk about greatness when it matters most. Tiger was 14-1 when going into the final round of a major with at least a share of the lead. Some guys, when it just matters the most, chips are all in the middle of the table, they simply figure out a way to be at their very best. And think about how few athletes have done that at the highest level so many times. And we are so lucky to have lived in an era with Djokovic, Federer, Nadal. I mean, to have been able to cover sports during a time where those three, any combination of them playing against each other at their peak, must watch. It's must-watch TV. And now we'll get that for probably a couple more years with Alcaraz and Djokovic. We'll get to watch that greatness on display between those two superstars. And again, Alcaraz coming in, Djokovic. Again, I say at the top of the plateau. I don't think he has started to go down the other end of it. He's certainly still there. And he has to be recognized still as the definitive best in the sport at age 36. I was wondering who was going to wear down more physically on Friday after those first two sets before Alcaraz started to cramp up, and it wound up being the 20-year-old. It was the kid that broke down, not the 36-year-old. And that's a whole nother conversation about what kind of physical condition Novak Djokovic is still able to be in. And he's not a guy that really deals with injuries. Nadal's had issues with his knees forever. Federer, the back and stuff like that. Djokovic, for whatever reason, and you watch the intensity and the physicality that goes into these points when you watch an Alcaraz versus a Djokovic, especially for the first two sets. You watch that, and it is mind-blowing, the physicality, the toll it takes, the back and forth. I went and hit balls with Patrick McEnroe back in, February when he was here for the tennis event they have out here in the Coachella Valley every year, the BNP Paribas. And he just had me running, around the court, hitting balls and stuff like that. And I was sucking wind. I'm dying out there. These guys are doing it point after point after point. For all the things we talk about with, the beauty of the NBA and what these guys do on skates in hockey and the footwork of a running back in the NFL and a baseball player running, first to third or, legging out a triple. Give me top flight, top level tennis and the best in the world in the biggest matches. There is no better watch on television if you are a true sports fan that just enjoys the beauty of athletic competition. Dennis Bernstein on the other side. SiriusXM NHL Radio, thefourthperiod.com, and the Stanley Cup Finals. Stay with us. Yes, I do. Thank you. Host, producer. Yeah, well, I get it. Yes. Only. Paid. Almost. First. Didn't say. Be a roll. Okay. Julie. Develops. Now. Make it. Make it. Okay. We are doing. Email. All right, normal rejoins fine. Continuing on this Monday edition of the show, time for the 2-for-1. Let's say hello to Dennis Bernstein. Does a great job on all things NHL. Sirius XM NHL Radio, the fourthperiod.com for all your hockey needs. All right, does this series end on Tuesday night, Dennis?
I think so, Jay. I think that there's just too much to overcome with respect to the injury to Matthew Tkachuk, which as I understand, it's pretty serious. And just the better team. Florida had a shot, in 3-2. Couldn't get it done late in the third period of Game 4. I just think that there's just too big of a hill to overcome. Vegas, as we talked about all series, Jay, too deep, too strong, too smart. I think it ends tomorrow night.
And look, I feel like Florida gave it all they had. That Game 4 where they get it to 3-2, basically, with the most of the third period to play. That was their opportunity. Every series it feels like, Dennis, and not to wax poetic here, but it feels like in every series there's this moment. I always say this about sports betting. Not sports betting, but I always say this about gambling at the casino. There's always a moment at the casino where you can leave and you're up. And it's that decision of, am I going to stay? Or am I know you're in Vegas right now, so you'll appreciate this. But it's that moment where you're like, you know what? I'm up a couple of hundred, but man, I could be up 1,000 by the end of the night. And it's that decision about whether you walk away. And every night, every day of life, there's a decision or a moment. And it feels like with Florida, their moment was that third period, figuring out a way to get the equalizer again. Because, look, it's 3-1 at that point. You saw the comeback they made late in Game 3 to get the win there in overtime. And you felt like, it's going to happen again. And then Vegas was able to shut the door.
Yeah, they started too late, Jay. That was the problem. They're down 3-0. And I was turning to my partner, in the press box, Dave Spagnola. I'm like, are they really going to get back in this game off a double bounce? But it's as improbable as it seems, Jay, that the way the Panthers season went, they did get back in the game. They had enough time, but Tkachuk's banged up, but they have other guys like Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Anthony Duclair. Guys haven't stepped up. Nobody stepped up when your guys hurt. And remember, Jay, Tkachuk's had on the bench for 15 minutes in the third period. In that game when they needed him the most, he's going to sit on the bench. That tells you how injured this player is. The rest of the team just didn't have his back, couldn't step up, and now they face a huge deficit. And the anticipation of Game 5, the only thing I can say, Jay, is that Vegas was here before in the conference final. They were up 3-1 at home against Dallas. Everybody was partying, ready to go to the Cup final. Dallas found a way to win. And there are two guys on the LA Kings that are probably going to remind the team tomorrow night that they were both Quick and Alex Martinez. In 2012, they were up 3-0 at home, one game to win the Cup, and everybody was asking for tickets. There was limos outside Staples Center, and Jersey found a way to extend the series, took it to 6. So they really better be in their guard because I expect the most desperate, if not the most healthy, Florida Panthers team tomorrow night in Game 5.
Yeah, you mentioned Tkachuk. Cousins, Montour. A bunch of guys that didn't participate in practice yesterday. You just wonder what kind of a team they're gonna be putting out on the ice.
Yeah, well, they're going to be desperate. I assume we'll get the best effort from this team. But again, effort only gets us so far, Jay. And you have talent when you have Jack Eichel passing to Jonathan Marchessault, and Jonathan Marchessault seems to score every game. It's just too much to overcome. You have a banged-up team against a team that roll fours line and play three pairs of defensemen in Vegas. I just think it's too much to overcome. That's part of the reason, or the main reason, that Florida's in that hole, because they face a deep, bigger, more physical team in Vegas, and you're sitting on the ice in the first 4 games.
Dennis Bernstein, Sirius XM NHL Radio, thefourthperiod.com, joining us here on the Cash In on this Monday night. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, also the Cash In podcast, where you might be checking out this conversation as well. Talk about, let's get into it a little bit, because if we all assume the best case scenario for Vegas and this thing ends in 5, if not 6 or whatever it would be, we all feel like this is Vegas' series to win now. Talk about what it would mean for the owner of this franchise, Bill Foley. I was reading an interesting story today where it was basically talking about his mission: playoffs in 3, cup in 6. Basically fulfilling this, this mission of delivering a Stanley Cup. And how quickly he's been able to, this franchise has been able to deliver one. I mean, when we talk about the construction of franchises and how we got to this point, is it a blueprint? There's going to be more expansion. There's going to be other teams coming in. We've seen what's happened with Seattle and the success they've had. What kind of a blueprint has Vegas put in here?
Well, they started from a very strong base. And I'll go back to a conversation I had with Gary Bettman pregame when we do our SiriusXM show. And they asked Gary about the success of Vegas. Two cup final appearances in 6 years. Seattle taking the defending champion Colorado to 7. He goes, you know what? We want our expansion teams to do well quickly. Like, you pay them that much money. Jay, it's like, I'll use another analogy. Like, if you bought a 7-Eleven for $2 million and 7-Eleven management told you it's going to be 15 years before you're good or turn a profit, would you buy that franchise? Of course you would. No. Same thing with these guys that put up a lot of money. So it's not, people say it's fixed. It's not fixed, but you get really good players now. And if the management does the right thing, what Bill Foley and McPhee and McCrimmon have done, though, they're not afraid to take risks, right? Mark Stone was a banged-up player in Ottawa. They traded for him, extended to him. Jack Eichel, people said he was a dog. He was a crybaby. He'll never play again. His neck injury is too risky. They took the risk, and look what happened, right? He's not the same player he was in Buffalo because he's surrounded by better players. They were savvy enough to trade for an Alec Martinez. They had solid players, but they added to it, and they were aggressive. So at this point, maybe aggressiveness doesn't pay off all the time, but Bill Foley and this organization, it's paid off in spades, and that's why they're one game away from winning a Stanley Cup.
Is Marcia Show ultimately going to be your guy as far as Conn Smythe?
Voters love goals, Jay. Now he gets a lot of passes from Eichel, and Eichel's played as well. But I just think they look at the goal total, especially if Marshall would score a couple more tomorrow night and get to 15 goals. I think the betting odds here in Vegas, he's minus 500. I think that's going to be the guy. And Aiden Hill hasn't thrown shutouts either, so he was another option. Stone was an option. I think just on the goal total alone, voters going to see that, and Marshall's probably going to get it.
I hate to go and sort of bang on Sergei Bobrovsky because if it's not for him, they're probably not even in the Stanley Cup final. But how much of this series came down to the slow start for him in the first two games and the layoff the team had?
I think the first game for sure because he got beat by shots. I remember go back to the Whitecloud goal. That was a game winner in game one. He stopped that in games 2 and games 3. So I think that's it. The second one, see what happened, Jay, is that, yes, game 1, Bobrovsky, the rest certainly hit the goaltender more than the players. And in game 2, they just lost their focus. They tried that clown act in game 2. It didn't work. And they tried it again at the end of game 4. You can't bully a bully. And that's what they tried to do. Their approach was wrong, Jason. That's what I didn't think. You could get away with the aggressiveness that Florida Panthers had maybe against Carolina or Toronto. You can't do it against Vegas. They didn't scout the opposition. I keep going back to the fact they tried to pick on Nick Hagee, 6'6" and 220. They said, no, sorry, it doesn't work like that. You don't pick on that guy. They're too big, they're too physical, and they're not taking a step backwards. They didn't focus enough on hockey in the first couple of games, and I think that cost them. So, yes, the layoff certainly hurt Bobrovsky in game 1, but from there, it's just their approach to the game had to be different. They needed their players to make more plays, not take misconduct, not, abuse the referees. Their just approach was wrong as well. And again, that's why they're in this deep hole that I think they're going to get out of.
Dennis Bernstein, SiriusXM NHL radio host there, and also the fourthperiod.com. Check out that website for all your hockey information. Dennis, I always appreciate it. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Who knows? We might be talking before Game 6. We'll have to wait and see.
If there's a Game 6, we will be talking, Jay. Thanks for the time.
Always love talking to him. All right, getting set to put the wraps on this baby tonight. Text from James in Detroit, Michigan. Hey, Jason, what's your biggest pet peeve about sports Mount Rushmores overall in general? I just think sometimes I think it's a lazy discussion. It's what you go to when you got nothing else. The Mount Rushmore thing. And it's taking greatness and trying to put down somebody else while elevating. There's so many great people. Making a Mount Rushmore in something like the NBA or NHL is always, or NFL or baseball, it's always going to inevitably leave somebody out. which puts a negative connotation on it. I just think it's lazy. Like, I don't have enough time to get into this, James. So remind me, James, shoot me a text and remind me. I'll talk about this tomorrow. Because there's a problem. It goes into a philosophy of things that I struggle with when I listen to sports radio, and why I don't listen to a lot of sports radio, because I think a lot of it sucks, to be brutally honest. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you, Justin. We're back tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern on SportsMap Radio. Bye! Thanks, man. Have a good night. What are we again together? Wednesday? All right. Have a good night. Thank you. That does it for us on the video side as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for partaking. I'll see you all back here tomorrow night. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, all of our viewing apps. I'm Jason Page. Bye.